Sound test, 1, 2. Well, a very good morning to everyone this morning. I'd like to call our meeting to order. This is the 17th meeting of the Emergency Preparedness and Protective Services Committee of this term of council. It's good to see everyone in person and those online as well. And the first order of business will to be our taken roll call. So Mr. Committee Coordinator, please.
Councillor Bradley.
Here.
Councillor DeRush.
Here.
Councillor Devine.
Here.
Councillor Dudas.
I'm here.
Councillor Hubley.
Here.
Councillor Johnson.
Here.
Councillor Kelly.
Present.
Councillor Luloff.
Good morning, Chris and Chair.
Conseillère Plante.
Ici.
Vice Chair Hill.
Present.
And Chair Brockington, you have quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And everyone is here, which is great. Okay, so the city of Ottawa is located on unceded, never surrendered territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe First Nations people. They have been inhabitants and stewards of these lands for millennia, and we honor and we recognize them. Okay, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations today? Seeing no hands. Confirmation of minutes. There are minutes from the 20th of February, 2025, assuming everyone's had a chance to review the minutes. Are those meeting minutes confirmed?
Confirmed.
Confirmed. Thank you. We do have two annual report presentations today, which staff will proceed with in just 1 second. Item 4.1 is the Public Safety Service Annual Report. And item 4.2 is the Ottawa Fire Services 2024 Annual Report, which we'll get to, as I said, in 1 second. First, I'd just like to open our meeting with a few notes from the chair. So again, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'd like to acknowledge that this week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Every year during the second full week of April, we honor the telecommunications professionals within the public safety community for their hard work and unwavering commitment to keep our communities safe. On behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to thank staff for providing service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and for always being dedicated professionals supporting our city at the other end of the phone. To the call takers and dispatchers, communication staff trainers, supervisors, technicians who maintain radio and emergency phone systems, and all other communication staff across the city, particularly those in the Emergency and Protective Services Department, your hard work and dedication are appreciated and recognized. For today's agenda, as I said, we will receive a presentation from Beth Gooding, Director, Public Safety Service, on the 2024 Public Safety Service Annual Report, followed by Chief Paul Hutt on the 2024 Ottawa Fire Services Annual Report. And I'm especially excited about the Public Safety Service Annual Report, as will include the announcement of the launch of the Public Emergency Notification System. This system will significantly enhance our ability to communicate critical, time-sensitive information with our residents, keeping everyone safer and more informed in emergency situations. This is a big step forward for our city and will improve how we support and protect the community. And finally, Chief Hutt's presentation will also provide an update on many important initiatives across Ottawa Fire Services, including the innovative Camp Fit program, the first of its kind initiative empowering young women to pursue careers in fire services, helping to diversify and strengthen our workforce. So I look forward to hearing from both of our services today. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our General Manager, who will provide some opening comments on 4.1, which is our Public Safety Service Annual Report. So over to you, Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, members of committee. Merci, Monsieur le Président, et bon matin à tous. Before I turn it over to Beth to present the annual report, I'd like to take a moment to recognize an important occasion. As the chair mentioned, this week is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, a time to celebrate and acknowledge the dedicated professionals who serve as the first point of contact during emergencies. These individuals work around the clock often 24/7, to ensure that our emergency services can respond swiftly and effectively. Their work is essential to our mission to protect lives, safeguard property, and enhance the quality of life for the people of Ottawa. And they do this with speed, efficiency, and compassion. Across emergency and protective services, many teams contribute to this vital work. Bylaw and Regulatory Services has its own team of dispatchers. The Ottawa Paramedic Service operates the Central Ambulance Communication Centre. Ottawa Fire Services runs its own communication centre, and the Public Safety Service operates a Security Operations Centre. Behind the scenes, we rely on many technical staff who support the critical technologies that connect us all, including our radio network. À l'ensemble de nos télécommunicateurs et équipes techniques, merci pour le rôle vital que vous jouez chaque jour. Votre travail et votre dévouement sont très appréciés. To all of our telecommunicators and technical teams, thank you for the vital role you play every day. Your dedication behind the scenes is deeply appreciated and never goes unnoticed. Now I'd like to hand it over to Beth to present Public Safety Services 2024 Annual Report.
Thank you. Merci. C'est toujours un plaisir d'être ici et d'avoir l'opportunité de vous présenter un bilan des activités de mon service. So I'll be providing an overview of the activities of the Public Safety Service today, looking back at 2024. Next slide. So the Public Safety Service comprises various functions that are all related and that they help to keep people safe. So that includes our Office of Emergency Management, our Corporate Security Program, including our security systems team, and also a public safety systems team that oversees our corporate radio network and the 911 call answer function with the Ottawa Police Service. We'll be returning to committee in October to report separately on the 911 function. In terms of the operating environment for 2024, it was characterized by a high number of demonstrations, particularly in the downtown core, as well as numerous weather alerts. And this is something interesting. So according to Environment Canada, the number of weather alerts for Ottawa in recent years has more than doubled since 2012. Now, we have to be careful because a weather alert doesn't always turn into a warning or a significant weather event, but I think it is a good reminder that the city is susceptible to severe weather, and that includes things like thunderstorms, heat, and snowstorms. In terms of the other two bullets on this slide, I'll be discussing them over the course of the presentation, so we'll just move to the next slide. So to start then, we have a team that works very closely with Bell Mobility Radio to ensure that the city's corporate radio system is robust and available 24/7 for the frontline users that rely on it. This is a really important system that we consider to be critical infrastructure for the city of Ottawa because it's such an important communications mode. We included a fun fact here for you today, which is that every year, the busiest day for radio network usage is Canada Day. And during Canada Day, the peak usage always occurs around 10 p.m. at night to coincide with the official fireworks. It's just a good reminder that for so many residents and visitors, Canada Day is a fun and celebratory day, but to make sure that people can enjoy it, it requires so many city staff and other partners to be out on the front lines, overseeing, monitoring, and responding as appropriate. So a busy day for us. Je voulais aussi souligner le fait qu'en 2024, on a continué de prioriser notre soutien pour les opérations ferroviaires, donc Low Train. Et on a aussi commencé un projet qui a pour but une mise à niveau de notre système de radiocommunication municipal. Donc, il s'agit d'un renouvellement des infrastructures. Next slide. So as usual, we're presenting you with an overview of our security incidents. We've gone back to 2019 because we believe that that's a better baseline year than 2020. As you can see from the chart, in 2024, there was a continued increase in security incidents across all security incident types. And I'd like to unpack that a little bit. So over the past couple of years, we've been mounting a pretty robust campaign with our client departments to get them to ensure that they report security incidents. What we've noticed is that in the past, there was an underreporting, and that's problematic for us because when people don't report, we don't have a good sense of what's happening in the city. And so we've been working very closely over the past couple of years with client departments to increase their reporting, and we think that this is partly contributing to the numbers in 2024. But we also think that at some public-facing facilities, there are simply more security incidents. And so that's been our focus over the last year, especially is working with staff to make sure that they have the support they need. And in the world of corporate security, it's kind of similar to emergency management, where prevention is always better than cure. So in emergency management, we use words like preparedness and mitigation. In corporate security, it's the same, but we use words like prevention and deterrence. And so in 2024, we've been working really closely with staff to make sure that they have the knowledge, training, policies, protocols, and security measures, including security systems that they need to stay safe. And that will be our continued focus going forward. Next slide. So in terms of the Office of Emergency Management, this slide provides an overview of key events that occurred in 2024. And I would characterize this as a normal year. And I would also say that we are happy to have a normal year because what that allows us to do is focus on our critical emergency preparedness work. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things. So the reference to ICS on this slide is Incident Command System Canada, which is a national emergency management framework that we've adopted for our emergency response. And so last year, one of our priorities was to train staff and continue to train staff to make sure that we have a critical mass of people that are ready and able to support Ottawa residents during emergency. That system is pan-Canadian and helps us to better partner with external entities, which is really important for complex and large-scale emergencies where the emergency management ecosystem is much broader than the city. We also continue to work on building community resilience. And so this is the training, partnerships, and briefings that we give to community associations, faith-based groups, and others. And it's really important. It's part of our ethos of supporting a neighbors helping neighbors approach in Ottawa. What we're trying to do is help people to build emergency plans and capacity so that when an emergency occurs, there's local level supports. It's especially important at the neighborhood level where people know each other best and are on the front lines and able to provide that support. And we also wanted to talk about the work that we've been doing in 2024 on enhancing public communications. And so we'll go to the next slide. So as was mentioned by the chair and GM Perot, we are in May releasing a new public emergency notification system called Ottawa Alert. We're really excited about this because it's that low-tech tool that we've been talking about that we felt we needed, especially during emergencies where there are power outages and we need to reach people, but they may be trying to preserve device bandwidth, for example. Ottawa residents will be able to subscribe by downloading the app or by signing up to get alerts through modes such as text message, email, or even automated voice messages. The focus of our alerts will be on providing residents with important information and city-specific guidance. And I think the best example I can give is the Barrhaven tornadoes from 2 years ago that impacted Vice Chair Hill's ward. So if we had had this tool at the time, what we would have done is used it after the tornadoes hit to let Barrhaven residents know what to do and where to go to seek support. And at the time, where to go to seek support was the Minto Recreation Center, which we had set up as an emergency reception center. And so that's the kind of usage that we'll be able to do going forward. L'application a été choisie parce qu'on pense que c'est facile, mais si jamais des résidents ont du mal à s'abonner ou peut-être ont des questions supplémentaires, ça sera certainement notre plaisir de fournir cette aide. Il y aura un courriel ainsi que nos agents 311 qui seront disponibles et capables de répondre à toute question. So I'll just repeat some of that we'll be doing a full marketing release when the tool is ready to launch. A bunch of communications, social media, emails from GM Perot. And so there'll be clear instructions on how residents can subscribe and sign up. But if there's any questions or issues on the part of residents, we're going to have various modes of communication available so that they can reach out and get help. We're very excited about this tool. We hope that you'll amplify the messaging once it's released. And just want to thank you again for the time today. Merci.
Thank you very much, Director Gooding, for your report and also for your service and that of your staff this past year in particular. So thank you. And like yourself, I like normal average years as well when it comes to emergency services. So thank you for that. We do have some questions from colleagues on the committee, and I'll start with Councillor Dudas.
I apologize if I missed this. Do you have a rough idea as to when that app will launch? You may have given a date, but I.
Yes, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. The app will launch in May, so
May?
within several weeks.
So having been through, oh my gosh, how many tornadoes now in my time in council? We had tremors, we've had flooding, a derecho. I could list a gazillion things that we've had, plus all the demonstrations that we go through. I think this is wonderful. I am just as excited, if not more so, for this app to come out than you guys are. And I think it'll be a huge game changer for residents in the community whose initial concerns were that they weren't getting information, that they had to charge phones at community centers and, you know, only had so much capacity within their networks to get information. So this is wonderful. Congratulations. I will be one of the first people to sign up for this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Dudas. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. So just a couple questions. So one, with respect to the app, it is an app. It's not a push text to people's phones.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. It's both. You can download the app or you can subscribe by submitting your phone number or email address to get the notifications through that mode.
Okay, glad to hear that. Just because not everyone loves apps. So that's wonderful. So with respect to your critical incidents, the corporate security, pardon me, you have both drug and alcohol on site as well as demonstrations and protests. Both of those have increased in 2024. I just wonder, like, what is the threshold by which that is noted? If someone uses drugs or alcohol on site, I mean, when would that take note? When would you take notice of that? Is there a behavior that is associated with that? Or is it just that someone's, you know, smoking a joint while walking across City Hall property?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. It can be different means through which it's brought to our attention. For those buildings for which we have security guards, they're often the ones who may notice the inappropriate behaviors first and notice them directly. In other buildings, it may be reported by staff. And in terms of a threshold, it's you know, typically an obvious behavior, so an open drug use or alcohol use, or very concerning behaviors.
And similar to the demonstration and protest on site, is that something that it's just that it's taking I mean, that would be something that would be very visibly taking place. So it's just a note that there is a demonstration or protest. There's not necessarily an interaction or an expectation of an interaction with security at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's correct. In most cases, it's the reporting of the demonstration itself rather than an issue associated with it. And just as a reminder, at City Hall, we have the Human Rights Monument outside. And so that is subject to being the location that demonstrators like to gather at almost on a daily basis. Yeah, thank you.
And so when there is a gathering, it becomes recorded in this document when someone flags that it's on site. Are there any other resources that are deployed at that time with that graph that you're showing, whether it's that particular item or others, or is it just an observation?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. In the case of demonstrations, there typically isn't an immediate action for our security staff. And just as a reminder that for all demonstrations in Ottawa, the Ottawa Police Service is the service lead. And so typically they will be on site overseeing and managing. And for us, it's more the geographic placement of where it's taking place.
And have you found with those demonstrations and protests on site that the Ottawa Police Service has provided the leadership that we need for that, and that other city resources are less required? They've done a good job of handling that on their own, given their jurisdiction.
Yes, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. The Ottawa Police Service are doing an excellent job. They have their police liaison teams as well as other resources, including the neighborhood response teams. And what we've seen is that although there are a lot of demonstrations, they're managing them to the best of their abilities and very, very well.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. We have Councillor Devine and then Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Beth, for the presentation. And as yesterday, I apologize for the frog in my throat. I appreciated the comment you made about fireworks being the day that you get the most calls. Typically, I'm getting emails about illegal fireworks at exactly the same time that I am setting off fireworks with a permit. So that's often a very busy time for me where I've got, split focus legally with a permit. I want to ask questions about the numbers in the corporate security incident reporting. So similar line of questioning comments to my colleague, Councillor Johnson. So I'm going to assume whenever I get any kind of report, and in that report, there are reportings on a year-to-year basis where there's a spike, I'm going to assume that the reason that that is being reported is because it's supposed to convey some kind of message to me that may have me seek whether or not you need resources, or is there an action, or is there a reason why you're reporting this spike to me? And in all of the things that were listed, whether it be break and entry or violent assault, I know those to be bad things. Just the words demonstration protest, I don't know those words to be bad things. It's an act of protest. So similar to Councillor Johnson, when you are reporting a spike from 27 demos and protests in 2019 to 41 in 2023 to 110 in 2024, it sounds like, based on what you were saying to Councillor Johnson, I'm not necessarily to take that something inherently bad, i.e. a corporate security incident happened there, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but you're correct in that the vast number of demonstrations that take place on city property are peaceful.
Yeah.
We do record them because we have had some incidents, especially when there is a demonstration and a counter demonstration occurring close together. But as I said, for those, it will be the Ottawa Police overseeing and managing public safety.
I understand that, but by the same principle, we report collisions when a vehicle hits another vehicle at an intersection. We don't report every time vehicles go through an intersection. We report the collisions. And so to that degree, I'm not sure if I understand the inherent value of reporting the number of protests, because that is sending a message that I'm going to assume is going to trigger a demand for more resources. One can also say that if that is the outcome of that, by putting more security resources or treating it as a security threat, that might even agitate situations where you might have a real reporting security threat. So can I ask, what is the inherent rationale in a list of corporate security incidents? What's the inherent rationale of just reporting the number of protests?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So depending on the size of the protests, it can be create some anxiety for people who are working in or visiting the building. A lot of people don't want to walk through a protest, for example. And so some of it is not a direct security incident, but more of a security awareness for us to be able to manage. And like I said, a lot of protests are very peaceful. Some will start off that way and not end that way. And so we want to make sure that we record what's happening on city property, but very happy to take this away and consider revising that category. It's not a problem.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, in the same vein, I understand that a large protest may cause anxiety for somebody walking across the street. In the same vein, heavy traffic congestion may cause anxiety for a pedestrian crossing the street. And if we want to start reporting about high traffic congestion and the impact that has on pedestrians, I'm all down for it. So I would encourage you to restrict our list of incidents to incidents. I may even, seek to either work on that offline or bring a direction. In the same vein, there's also a spike in trespassing, where in trespassing from 2019, we had 60. In 2023, we had 161. And in 2024, we had 222. So can you tell me what is defined as trespassing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So trespassing is when we issue a trespass notice to someone at one of our city facilities.
But that's a big spike from 2019 to 2024. But what qualifies as, just so I understand, what qualifies as trespassing? How would I get, what threshold do you have to pass to get a trespassing notice?
It's directly, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's directly linked to the city's public conduct policy. And so the behaviors there are clearly outlined, and at a high level, it's inappropriate behaviors. So it could be someone spewing hate speech, someone being aggressive to a staff or to a visitor at a city facility. It could be someone drinking alcohol
Yeah.
or injecting drugs. Yeah.
Has the definition of what that threshold is changed from 2019 to 2024?
No.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Lastly, on the issue of the public emergency notification system, I agree with Councillor Dudas. I am very excited to have that system. I think it will be immensely useful, but same as with my newsletter, which I believe to be immensely useful, it's only valid if people subscribe to it. All the people who say, I didn't know this was going on, we didn't subscribe to it. In anticipation of the fact that it's hard to get people to subscribe to a new app or to download anything, is there any available tool to us for critical emergencies where we can, just like I get a text notice about an Amber Alert for an emergency that I may have no ability to address, but if I am living in a neighborhood where there is a hurricane or a tornado, do we, the city of Ottawa, have any ability to use that same kind of non-subscribing, non-opting in, put out a text message or something like that? We all have these. This is the best communication device available. Do we have any capacity to advance that kind of process?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. So we already have access to that capacity through the National Public Alerting System. It's managed by the provinces and territories. And so for us, it would be, the message would come through Ontario, and it's called a broadcast intrusive message. So it basically pings all available cell phones in the area and directly sends them a message, whether they're subscribed. Well, there's no subscription. You're getting the message. And the best example is what you said, the Amber Alerts. So we have access to that already, but it's a very heavy and intrusive form of messaging. And so we reserve it only for threat to life situations. And in my time at the city, we haven't had to use it.
Oh, but if there were such an event, we could use that technology?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And do we have a protocol or a threshold or definition for, like, do you have a playbook for when you might need to push that button?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. We do absolutely have a protocol. Happy to share it with you. There are certain types of emergencies that are applicable, and there's also a sign-off process within the city as to who is allowed to send the message.
Great. I might want to ask the chair on the issue about changing the definition of what kind of incident would be reported as demonstration protest. Is that a direction I need to bring now, or can I work on that throughout the meeting?
I would suggest you meet with the director offline and have a chat, and you can probably resolve the matter that way. No, just after the meeting,
Great.
schedule a meeting with the director and talk this one out.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Director Gooding, for your presentation and for the wonderful work that you find yourself doing sometimes when there's an emergency in our city. I appreciate how connected you are to the communities that you serve. I also am excited about the public emergency notification system, and I can see that being incredibly useful in a citywide emergency or a widespread emergency. I do have some questions though about how it might work in a area or ward specific emergency, or for instance, spring flooding, which can potentially happen in Councillor Luloff's ward at the same time it's happening in mine. Sorry. And I'm wondering how contacting people in specific areas or in specific wards will work. Because if the entire city is getting messages about flooding in Constance Bay and Cumberland, there could be some mixed messages or confusion. So I'm just wondering if you could provide some commentary on how that aspect of the system may work.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. So so I just want to remind everyone that this is a subscription-based city. So the residents will only get messages if they sign up and want them. And when they sign up, they'll be asked to pick the type of message they would like to receive and also the geographic location. They can pick the whole city, or they can select certain wards depending on their area of interest. And that is how we will target our messaging during emergencies. So for example, during spring freshet, if we needed to reach people in Cumberland and West Carleton, we would look for the subscribers in those areas and target our messaging to them.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, thank you, Director, again. The motion before us is that the Emergency Preparedness and Protective Services Committee recommend Council receive the Public Safety Service 2024 Annual Report for information. Is this item received?
Received.
Thank you, colleagues. The next item is 4.2, the Ottawa Fire Service 2024 Annual Report. We'll welcome our team from Ottawa Fire Services. Before we get started, I'll just mention at 10:30, I need to step out of the chair. The vice chair will take the chair at that point. So good morning, General Manager. Would you like to offer introductory comments?
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I'm just going to hand it over to Chief Hutt.
Good morning, members of committee. With me today, I'm very happy also to have our deputy chiefs, Louise Hein-Schmidt to my left, and then to her left is Deputy Chief Colleen Woolsey to present with us today. I do want to start off as well, just echoing the chair and the GM's comments about Telecommunicator Week, be it fire service, paramedic, bylaw, or fire services. When we talk about I always talk about fire prevention being the first line of defense, but it's actually the people that receive those calls from our residents, and it could be the worst moment of their lives, and they do such a tremendous job day in and day out navigating and facilitating those calls from residents and visitors to the city of Ottawa. So congratulations to all the service areas. First slide, please. And next slide, please. Thank you. Under our establishing a regulatory bylaw, we have an annual requirement report before committee. Today we'll just give an overview of our delivery model. We'll talk about our recruitment, performance standards, accreditation, significant responses, and our strategic investments. And at the end of this, we'll be recommending to committee that they receive a report for information. Next slide, please. This is our service overview, just from an operating budget perspective. Our land area that we cover, our population, we continue, and these are approximate numbers, but we approximately have 1,000 career members and 500 volunteers operating out of 45 stations across the city. Next slide, please. Our service delivery model, or our organizational structure, we have a training and safety division. We have an operations section, which has combined our urban and rural divisions together. We have capital assets that looks after fleet, facilities, and procurement. And then we have our community standards and communication, which is our fire prevention and communications, and then our operational support, which is our business services and our technology service aspects as well. Next slide, please.
OFS Recruitment, nous nous engageons à attirer des personnes qualifiées provenant de divers milieux. Il est important que notre équipe reflète la diversité de la population de notre ville. Pour évaluer notre inclusivité, nous utilisons le questionnaire comme témoin afin d'identifier les domaines dans lesquels nous pouvons nous améliorer. The Ambassador Program, which was established in 2021, promotes diversity and inclusion through community and youth engagement. Ambassadors share personal stories to challenge stereotypes and inspire interest in firefighting as a career. The group participates in community events, school job fairs, and presents to diverse groups to build trust and encourage inclusive recruitment. By building connections and inspiring others, ambassadors are helping to shape the future of Ottawa Fire Services. Next slide.
So as some of you may be aware, Camp Fit is the first camp of its kind in Canada, and now we have many camps running throughout the country. These camps have been identified as the most reliable and effective recruitment tool for increasing gender diversity in the fire service. We are now seeing the fruits of our labor after 15 years when you look at the statistics before you. When we interview women candidates in our recruitment process, many add to their resumes the experience they had at one of these camps. This highlights the importance of finding ways to introduce firefighting as a viable career option to a demographic that has not traditionally been represented in our service. Some of the side effects of these camps are equally important to us, including for our employees who help teach and instruct at these camps, offering leadership opportunities and personal growth. Our crews who attend to help with some of the demonstrations and training opens up discussions in the station about the benefits of equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging in the fire service. Next slide.
So our response standards, I know recently we presented a report on station location. I am pleased to say that we continue to meet our response standards from a moderate risk perspective. You can see from an urban first on scene, and that's from the time of call to have the first apparatus on location. We are meeting that threshold as well as on the rural side with reference to first apparatus on scene. We often talk about effective response force. An effective response force is assembling a number of firefighters at a certain time for critical tasking. And we certainly are meeting those. We are suppressing those benchmarks. So very happy that we continue to meet those benchmarks. That shows the commitment that we have with our members and the support from committee and council for the resourcing that we have. Next slide, please. So this slide shows our performance. We've had an increase when we call call volume. That's really focused within our communication center. So we've seen an 8% increase in our call volume coming into Ottawa Fire Service. From our incidents, we're also showing a 4% increase, which is approximately 1,200 additional calls that we saw in 2024. You'll see our apparatus volume, our movements have slightly decreased. I think there's a direct correlation to when you look at the false fire alarm, and we'll get into some of the discussion around the false fire alarm strategy. So that's very positive. We're seeing that. We have seen an 8% increase in fires. When we look at the data, the increase is showing from a residential and multi-residential aspects of things. And so there's a number of initiatives that we can discuss further on, just how we're trying to deal with those increasing calls. False alarm, the false fire alarm strategy that we implemented July 1st of last year. Although, 1% may not look very much, but it's only been 6 months since we've implemented that initiative, as where normally we would see that number increasing each year. So we're seeing some very positive outcomes for that false alarm strategy. We've seen an increase in our medical responses. Whenever You have growth and intensification. We're going to see medical responses increase. Also in 2024, we did look at our medical tier response agreement to help assist Ottawa Paramedic Service with lift assists, of which we supported paramedic services roughly 2,700 times last year for those types of call types. And hazardous materials, a relatively low number. We had a peak in 2022, 2023, but the numbers have normalized in 2024 for hazmat type calls. Next slide, please. So we often talk about our accreditation or the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. Ottawa Fire Service in 2024 was reaccredited till 2029. The accreditation is an international accreditation by a third party peer assessment team that comes in that evaluates every aspect of your service. It looks at community risk assessment, standards of cover, self-assessment, strategic plan, and the board, there's a commission that reviews our service area, and they offer various recommendations. So I'm very pleased that we continue with this certification, and I'm very pleased that it's all about continuous improvement. So it's although we have service excellence today, but there's always room for improvement, and it's always nice to have a third party evaluate your service and provide that feedback. Also to note, there's only 7 services in Canada that has this level of accreditation. Next slide, please.
So this training center project has been a priority for OFS for many years, with the first major report on the need for a new facility in 2010. This project is now front and center as our needs continue to outpace the offerings of our current facility. We learned yesterday our BSS team received the Class D estimate results from the consultant, which will give us a clear picture of the financial scope of the project. We are focusing on our search for land on City of Ottawa property and have some options to consider. We have submitted an application to increase our development charge funding ratio from its current 25% to 90% covered under the formula. We feel much more confident today than we did even a year ago that we have traction to make this project a reality. Next slide.
The false alarm strategy, which was launched on July 1st, 2024, aims to reduce nuisance alarms and enhance public safety. The program has shifted our traditional response to focus on proactive communication and education with property owners to prevent alarms before they happen. In the first 6 months, as reported by the chief, we saw a 1% overall reduction, but more significantly, we're seeing real change. For example, one property went from 156 alarms in 2023 to 112 in 2024, and just 24 so far in 2025. And happy to report not one alarm in the last month. These improvements are definitely a direct result of the program. These outcomes allow us to better allocate resources where they're needed most. As the program is still in its early stages, we look forward to sharing more success stories as the program continues to grow. Next slide.
Significant responses in 2024. Our hazmat team was called to Orleans to a hotel that there was strong chemical smells within the building. Our hazmat team was able to mitigate that call. May of 2024, we responded to Donald Street for a high-rise fire, unfortunately resulting in a fatality and a number of injuries. We worked very closely with our colleagues in the Office of Emergency Management for 200 residents that were displaced for that call. May of 2024, we responded to a multi-vehicle collision on Highway 417. One vehicle caught fire, and which also resulted in extrication. So our specialty team extricated at that scene. And then in July of 2024, we responded to, as through our provincial response program, we responded to a technical rescue call in South Stormont, where we rescued an individual from a grain bin. And I just wanted to, just on this slide as well, not so much significant response, but we invested a lot of time last year on the wildland firefighter prevention in not just rural areas. We actually focused on inner NCC properties, which was very significant as well. Next slide, please. So just a look back, we talked about our accreditation. We talked about enhancing public safety with the opening of Canada North Fire Station. Huge success with reclassifying our volunteer firefighters to casual employees. And we also created the false fire alarm bylaw. Some of the initiatives that we're moving forward is we're looking to implement our station location study that was approved by committee for Station 93 in Greeley and Station 94 in Manotick. We currently have renovations well underway at Station 81 for converting that station to a composite station. And we also continue the progress with our psychological and our wellness of all our staff. So that concludes our presentation, but we're happy to answer any questions there are.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation of the annual report. So thank you, Chief and Deputy Chiefs, for the presentation. In addition, I just want to add that yesterday, City Council ratified a new collective agreement with our professional firefighters, and I want to recognize Dave Andre, who's here as well, the president of the association, but we have labor peace and certainly a good deal. So want to recognize the good work that got us there. So thank you. So welcome to take questions now from members of the committee, starting with Councillor Devine.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief and Deputy Chiefs, for a great presentation and for another great year of service. I was also very happy to be at the awards ceremony you held last week, honoring not just the amazing and brave and innovative and creative members of our force, but members of the community that rose to the call. So thank you for that ceremony and for recognizing all of that. I also want to repeat what the chair just said about congratulations on arriving at that agreement. The fact that it was like 98.8% ratification by the membership just showed a fantastic collaboration between management and labor. So congratulations on that. Again, it's like a really solid report. Very appreciative of seeing those, because I remember from previous years, and I know that we have different response times based on geography, and we were already ahead of the curve, I think ahead of the standard, but you've even gone more ahead of the standard. So across all areas, whether it be rural or urban or suburban. So just a tip of the fire hat to that. I'm sure that every resident is very appreciative of you being able to get to where you got to go faster and faster. I want to touch a little bit about the success that you found from the false alarm bylaw. I was really excited that got passed last year, because I anticipate, as you do, that there's going to be significant savings and efficiencies found from that. I was pleased to hear that even though right now you're only reporting in the first 6 months a 1% decrease, but by this point previously you would have had an increase. So the net difference is more than 1%. Can I just safely assume that you're going to be projecting, as more and more education and instruction happens, that percentage of increase is likely to grow over the next few years?
Chair, through you, thank you for that question. We're very optimistic that that's a trend we're going to see. We had an educational phase the first 6 months, and then actually went into effect July 1st. So also, we've been able to dedicate those true dedicated resources to focus on dealing with the root issue of these alarms, which we really didn't have the time or the resources to do that in the future, or in the past. So it's been very helpful, and we certainly are optimistic that we're going to continue to see that nuisance fire alarm decrease. Yes.
And you also made a correlation between the decrease in false alarms with the decrease in the deployment of apparatus. And I know that the decrease in deployment of apparatus was only 0.5%, but all of that translates into costs. Is there even a way, even with just these 6 months of improvement, down 0.5% on apparatus, down 1% on false alarms, is there even a way to project the cost savings of that? Because I welcome it and support it, and I want to champion it. Is there a way to project what that translates into dollars?
I think probably difficult based on the small sample size that we have the 6 months. When we presented the false fire alarm strategy, we did suggest within 3 years, although we'd report every year back to committee to the progress, we did suggest that after 3 years, we'd have an excellent sample size that we could see where we're at. Keeping in mind, our false fire alarms represent around 35% of all our calls. So I think that's why we're drawing that correlation between that small percentage and the vehicle apparatus movement decreasing.
And last question about the false alarm thing. You mentioned one particular building, and I don't remember the numbers, but you said it went from 190 to 124 to 30, something like that, but a huge trajectory. Can I assume that that success is based on proactive instruction and communication with that person? And then can I assume that whatever you learned, you and that landlord or building, whatever you learned there, you can replicate that with other problematic properties?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your question, Councillor. Absolutely. The experience that we've realized with this property is definitely something that we will be able to apply to others. We've recognized that this program has definitely allowed us to engage more with these property owners. And as the chief indicated, we now have the resources to be able to have that time to be able to have that dialogue with property owners to assist them. And as well, they are working as well with certified fire alarm technicians to implement changes. So we are very hopeful that moving forward, we are going to see positive change at other properties as well.
And have you been finding that with those problematic properties, are they, the property owners themselves, needing to see equipment upgrades to their, whatever you call that operating panel? Is that part of the problem? It's not necessarily irresponsible tenants and or people, it's just faulty equipment?
Right. And at times it can be, making improvements. Sometimes it's adding different types of devices that will provide better protection. And, even sometimes it's the location of the device. It's not that, they were not compliant. It's just where they had them situated, where it's probably not ideal. Just a very small example, perhaps, a smoke detector just outside a bathroom with the steam from the shower is not the most appropriate location or the appropriate device. So in working with their certified alarm technicians, they're able to realize changes that are having positive effects on our responses.
Fantastic. I noticed you mentioned like a spike of 35% in hazardous calls, but you also said that 2022, you said, hazardous, you were down 35%, but that 2022 was a peak. So was the spike in 2022 an anomaly, and is the coming down 35% this year in hazardous calls, is that pretty much the baseline?
Chair, thank you, Councillor. Our hazardous material calls overall, like we're looking at 1,200. So any kind of spike or bump, there is no trend that I can really report during the 2022 and 2023, other than the fact that we were also coming out of COVID as well in 2022. So there was a lot of people still working from home. Those aspects that may have attributed to that little bit of a bump, but looking in 2024, everything seems to have leveled out. So,
thank you. So you also did mention that there was a spike, an 18% spike in medical calls, and I know that from our paramedic services, tons of innovation on your department to try to advance measures. Sometimes the province listens, and sometimes the province does not. Is there any correlation between the spike of OFS responding to medical calls and any challenges that paramedic services is responding? Like you're both able to respond to services, but is there a correlation there? Or?
Chair, Councillor, I'll let Chief of paramedics respond. But with the advancement of the MPDS that paramedic service has implemented, with the tiered medical response agreement that we review annually, we do work very closely with our colleagues in paramedic, and it seems to be working seamless. But I'll pass it over to the Chief as well.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to confirm that what, or echo the comments from Chief Hutt, is that this is a collaboration between the fire service and the paramedic service, and it's working very well.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then just last question or comment. I heard you talking about a path forward, a more and more viable path forward for your training center, which I know and understand to be one of your core objectives. There was something you said towards the end that I couldn't really hear, and I understood that you were talking about changing the DC formula so that that project could be more funded from DCs. But am I to understand that essentially you've laid out a financial plan where that becomes more and more viable? And if so, what's the anticipated horizon of when you anticipate that that might be operational?
Yeah, Chair, thank you, Councillor. We've worked really closely with corporate services, finance, looking at different funding models. We recently, as part of the development review program, there was a funding model strategy of 75-25, 25 being development charges. The last round, we did make application, which is still under review, to increase that closer to 90% because of growth. We feel we can justify the growth of the service plus the size of the city of Ottawa. So we have made a recommendation that's with planning, but there's always opportunity for an appeal on that. So it's not cast in stone right now, but we're confident through the research and the background that we've done that we're going to have a better foothold when it comes to development charge funding on that.
Great. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dudas.
You mentioned you're looking at city properties for the training center, which makes absolute sense. Just curious, are you having conversations with any other levels of government about properties that might be available? And I have one that I would love to see you on, but you probably know what I'm thinking about.
Chair, thank you, Councillor. Yes, there's not a stone unturned. We're working at all levels. We're working very closely with the provincial government to see what other opportunities there are. Obviously, securing a piece of property, that's a huge capital asset. And if we can find something local, either through municipal or provincial or federally, that can help us with that through grant programs, those are all on the table. And our project team has already looked at a number of opportunities.
Okay, so I hinted, but I'm going to be very obvious. There is the TPOF, the Training Protective Ops facility run by the RCMP and CSIS off of St. Joseph with a very significant amount of land. And I know I've brought it up in the past as a potential opportunity to have a strong discussion with them. They use the property, but there is an immense amount of it. We would love to absolutely see the training center built there in partnership with them, not only to leverage the land, but also to leverage their expertise in partnership with ours, because I know a lot of the emergency management had I don't know if it still runs out of that, but they have their ops center there. So anyway, I'm just, throwing a pitch in for the East End and saying that there is land there and expertise shared is sometimes a huge benefit to our city. So take a look at it. Pitch.
Chair, thank you. We've looked at a number of properties, a number of opportunities, and we currently do training. Our hazardous material works very closely with the team at TPOF, and we've done training there, so we're aware of that facility. One element we have to be very careful of is current and future development with the type of training and burning that we have to do in those locations. We have to be careful of surrounding areas and neighborhoods, and that's something we have to take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for that suggestion as well. I don't see any other questions from committee members. So the motion before us is that the Emergency Preparedness and Protective Services Committee recommend that Council receive the 2024 Ottawa Fire Services Annual Report for information. Is that matter received?
Received.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief and Deputy Chiefs. So just continuing with our agenda, I do not believe there's any in-camera items. We do have an information previously distributed, the delegated authority in 2024 by the Emergency Protective Services Department. So that is noted. Any notices of motion? Seeing none, any inquiries? Seeing none, other business? Just before we adjourn, just two matters to draw to your attention. May 4th is International Firefighters Day. On this date, you are invited to remember the past firefighters who have died while serving our community and those who have dedicated their lives to protecting the safety of all of us. We recognize and honor the sacrifices that firefighters continue to make to ensure that their communities and environment are as safe as possible. So we thank them. And also May 4th to May 10th is Emergency Preparedness Week. This year, the theme is Be Prepared, Know Your Risks. Residents are encouraged to understand the risks in their area and learn what actions they can take to protect themselves and their households. Finally, next month, May 15, members are aware that this will be a joint committee meeting between our committee and our friends at the new PWIC, Public Works and Infrastructure Committee. We will deal with two items at that point, a report dealing with the special events bylaw and an IPD, a memo that's been distributed already entitled Feasibility Assessment, Vulnerable Social Infrastructure Bylaw. So I wanted to flag that for you on that date, which is May 15th. There's no other business today, so this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.